You are now tuned into Moses Squared podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Make sure you follow both me and Desmond on social media platforms, as well as subscribing to Moses Squared podcast on YouTube and following Moses Squared pod on Instagram. Enjoy the episode. What's up, y'all? It is Moses Squared podcast. I am Lauren Moses, one of your co-hosts, former Virginia women's basketball player, and I'm here with...
It's your boy Desmond Moses and her brother, Big Bro.
Big Bro, Lil Sis.
Yeah. We from Jersey, y'all. You know, Jersey representatives, Kansas City Chief, former Green Bay Packer, Tulane Green Wave. I gotta represent for the Green Wave because they doing some big things. They won a bowl game last year, so I gotta show a little love to Tulane as well, But let's get right into it because we got an interesting topic, and we're not going to dance around. We don't have a whole bunch of topics today. We're going to talk about the topic. It's basketball related
for a few weeks now, too.
It's off the court.
It is off the court. So we have to talk about Ja Morant because there was an incident.
The kid's wilding.
Second incident, actually. Before we get into this, have you ever seen Tyra Banks, America's
Next Top Model?
America's Next Top Model. We were rooting for you.
Yeah.
We were rooting for you. This is how I feel about Ja Morant's second incident of getting caught with a gun on Instagram Live. The first time it happened, it wasn't
caught though. That caught implies that it was a mistake. This is the second time he brandished the weapon on on Instagram Live for whatever reason. His brother just. But let me not cut you off. Go ahead.
No. That's facts. The first time this happened was during season. He was suspended for about 2 games. The team still had him separated from the team. They wanted to do an investigation, make sure everything was legal. Everything was legal. Wasn't his gun. Yada yada yada. He was also on a road game, so they wanted to make sure that he didn't bring this gun that was seen in the Instagram Live. All of those things. Nothing was illegal. Kept it pushing, came back, joined the team, finished out the season, and now we are in the postseason, his off season, where he should be out on a beach somewhere.
On a boat. Go get on a boat, kid.
Go ride a yacht. Go to Cabo, like all the other ones. But no, he was riding around town with this gun in his hand.
Yeah.
And I'm just confused on why.
Well, apparently it was one of his high school teammates. I'm gonna give a little more context. One of his high school teammates, long-time friend who was on the live. It was actually his live. It was doing a thing, and Ja decided to, unbeknownst to this guy, pull a gun again. So his friend, being a friend, tries to end the live instantly.
Yeah.
Soon as he see Ja's lift this thing up, the friend tried to, and it's. It's unfortunate because I think the friend was trying to protect him. I don't think anybody knew exactly what he was getting into. Ja's clearly a fan of this NBA young boy, which whatever, a lot of his music promotes violence, and I don't know what Ja's trying to be. I don't know who he's trying to be right now in this moment. But from the outside looking in, he's trying to go backwards. He's hustling backwards, what we call that. He's hustling backwards because he's come from a place where not 200 mil guaranteed. He's not from that type of lifestyle.
Yeah.
And he has it guaranteed, and he's trying his best to give these people their money back.
To lose it. And that's what people are talking about now, what this suspension should look like. Because remember, the first time it was only 2 games, a couple of weeks away from the team. But now they're going to lay it down. And I think what's interesting, and I've seen a lot of people talk about it on television or ESPN, it's like what he has done isn't illegal.
No.
However, for you to be a face of an organization, of a franchise, for you to be a face of an entire multi-billion-dollar league,
well, that's why there was
an issue.
There was grace the first time. That's why there was grace amongst a certain group of people, a lot of people, including myself, where I'm like, yo, come on, yo, it's not a great look. You got kids looking up to you, but let's be honest, there's politicians. I just Googled politicians and guns. There have been campaign after campaign where they promote guns and they send out Christmas cards with guns, and they families and toddlers with guns, but being in the midst of what we're in the midst of, and Ja being who he is, a young black man in a lot of our communities dealing with gun violence and mass shootings, across the country. Not that
Yeah.
all should fall onto Josh's shoulders to carry and
No.
be responsible for.
But timing is everything,
Time
and
is everything.
proximity is everything. And when you think about the
And this is
fate,
the second time.
the second time, like it went from oops
Right.
to all right. Now let's
Right.
take a
It went
little
from
take a
young
little
kid,
deeper look.
listening to his NBA, they're like, okay, I see you. Well,
Exactly.
turned up, boy. You too turned up, boy. Okay, turn down, chill a little bit,
Chill
you know.
out. But that's a good point. You talk about gun violence in America, and I
Mhm.
think no, all of this shouldn't fall on Ja. But when
Right.
you think about the young people who are being affected right now with gun
For
violence in
sure.
America, in regards to mass shootings in schools, massage parlors, grocery stores, literally any and everywhere, lives are being taken at the hands of gun violence, and the timing for me is he's going to
Yeah.
lose. Not he might, he could, no, he's going to lose his fan club, the people who are in the stands cheering for him, the
Hmm.
children, because
Hmm.
their parents are, I'm sure, are looking at them just as they do all these other people in
Yeah.
the news and passing some type of judgment.
Yeah.
And so my heart goes out to, his fans and stuff and his little kids. And, obviously he has a daughter and
Hmm.
all those things. And so it's like, I just want him to get the perspective that he needs, because I'm not going to say he needs help. Yes, he needs to make some better decisions,
For sure.
and get some people around him who can help him do that. But I think he needs a better perspective of who he is, what his brand is, and how he can make sure that it's going in a positive trajectory rather than a negative.
Well, speaking of the brand, let's talk about the ramifications of this. We talk about his sneaker. They apparently is down now from the Nike site, which was a prerequisite to Kyrie's sneaker deal being canceled
Yep.
with Nike. The suspension, the amount of money it costs him for the game suspended, money he's not making, his inability to make all NBA teams, which cost him roster incentives. We're talking about, a guaranteed contract of $200 million, in which if he gives them enough reason to, they'll be able to recoup some of these dollars if they decide to go a different direction. We're talking about a brother that's giving back millions on millions of dollars right now, which you hate to see. You hate to
Well,
see.
different
So
direction is a different direction. Could it help? Could
mhm,
him getting out of Memphis help?
maybe. I mean, I don't know if it's a Memphis influence. NBA YoungBoy is not necessarily he's from
No, he's
Louisiana,
not.
but
But there
just
are
that environment.
several. I was gonna
You
say. I mean, look at all the rappers that are coming out of Memphis right now,
Sure,
right? Like you have what Moneybag Yo, and
yeah.
I'm sure that he is tapped into the culture in Memphis.
But that's where you have to have a level of maturity, because with $200 million, you can create any environment any
that's true.
in any place.
That's
John's
true.
not from there. These guys don't hang. It's like when you have that much money, that's why responsibility comes with it. That's why what's at stake right now is so huge, because he could go to Jamaica, he could go to China and create this environment if that's who he is. He has to figure out how to move away from that. A, if that's not him. B, if that is him, he needs to really get help and
I'm
and
curious
and
about
really figure out what he wants to do and what he wants to be,
yeah.
because nothing is promised, not only this life but all of these blessings that come with it can be taken away in an instant. So I hope he understands that and just he tightens up. It's not the end of the world. I don't think he's harmed anybody in the sense of physically harming someone, but clearly his decision making is a red flag right now. And the NBA and all of these leagues have a way of connecting dots over a period of time and pulling them together and creating a narrative that they
Yes.
want. So he has to be careful right now.
I'm curious, as someone who has faced some scrutiny, whether it's from coaches,
Yeah,
teammates, in regards to off the field, for you specifically, off the
yeah,
field, decisions. When you are getting these messagings, whether it's from your teammates, parents, coaches, whatever, how do you decipher? Okay, I know what
yeah,
I did wasn't the smartest thing. How
for
do I
sure.
move forward, one as a man, to make a better decision for myself and my family? And what do I take and what do I
Good
keep?
question.
Because a lot of these things are opinions and what you should do this, should do
Right,
that, but
right.
no one is Ja. So like from your perspective, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer is starting with accountability. Like you said, what you've done wrong. You can either make excuses, whether to yourself or to other people, or you can approach it head on and say, okay, this is the reality. Either, hey, I might really have an issue with this. I need a little help, or I was making bad decisions. I just got to be smarter than it. I can't continue to make these mistakes. I can't make this mistake twice, because that's the thing about life that a lot of people, I think, have a misconception on is you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
You just can't continuously make the same mistakes or you're an idiot. So it's like life is a learning experience. We're going to make mistakes. It's inevitable. But if you can take those mistakes or those L's and learn from them, they become lessons, which in turn you never lose. You
Yep.
always win because you take something from every single situation and it helps you grow as a person. And that's the way to do it, is start with accountability, analyze it. Is this a real problem? Do I need to make better decisions? And try not to have a repeat.
Yeah. Well, I think it's definitely going to be a lesson that one is going to follow him throughout his
Yeah.
career because, as we know, he's not the first person in the NBA to have issues with
No.
guns.
And he's young, Lo. He's so
Yeah.
young. I mean, he's a young kid. This is something that we could laugh about in 10 years, or it could be something that we say, man, remember that Ja Morant? That boy I think he was going to be something. This time, that decision, what it turns out to be, is totally up to him because he's a special talent. And for the NBA and for us as basketball fans, I hope and pray Ja gets it all the way right, because I love to see him play for the next 10, 15 years. We grew up on a guy with similar electricity in his game, and by the name of Allen Iverson. Man, this guy could be AI 2.0 with, man, he might have 10 more inches of vert. And AI was a freak. Now, young AI used to punch on folks, but this kid is special, and I hope his career gets to pan out and we get to enjoy and see exactly what type of player he's going to be.
Yeah, praying for longevity with that one. But as the NBA season is winding now, we are in finals. We are in the NBA finals now, and it's time to talk about it because we're 2 games in, 1-1, tied up.
Let's talk about it. Last night was
Last night is exactly what I needed to see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. That is exactly what I needed to see. I think I talked about it maybe 2 episodes ago now about, one rooting for the Heat and really just rooting for Jimmy Butler.
Right.
And, he's
Jimmy
getting
Jordan.
He's getting
Jimmy, that boy, hey.
He's getting some help though. He's getting some help. Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin. They got a Higgs Smith pulled up one game, the first game of this series.
And they have to. Those are the others. That's what Shaq and Charles and all those guys are talking about. With all due respect to the others, because they're as important, but those others, they play big on the road. Lo, you know how important it is to have that type of contribution from the bench, from your role players on the road, in a bit, all of those things going on, excitement. This is playoff now. This is the NBA Finals now. So we're talking about real electricity in the building. It's a little tougher for those others to get going on the road. Talk about how big they were last night, because, like you said, I think that was the difference. Joker still had 41.
Still okay. Joker still went off. But I think the others help. They relieve the pressure. When you're the main scorer of a team, you already know that you have to go out and get yours. You have to go out and get your numbers and hope that anybody can pull their weight. If you don't, I mean, Jimmy had 21, but he didn't have to score 35 in this game because Bam had 21. Gabe Vincent had 23. Max Strus had 14. Like, when they are in their rhythm, especially shooting rhythm, because that was a difference maker in game 1 versus game 2. They shot terribly from the 3-point line in game 1 of this series.
They struggle from time to time. They do. They get hot and cold a little bit.
But they're not a live by, die by the 3 type of team like Boston.
No, and that's the beauty of them. They have that hard-nosed texture to them. It's a component of them to where if things get ugly, the game gets muddy, they can go get and ones. They can get into the lane. They can force you to foul them and get to the free throw line. This is a team, like you said, like unlike Boston, where they tend to take these bailout shots late in the game, which cost them when your legs are going. You look tired. When you get to the bucket, you get to your spots and you get defenders off balance. You get them in the air. That's a brand of basketball that even under pressure on the road, these guys are able to come out and play at a really high level. and stay in it, because we're talking
I
about a
just think,
Denver Nuggets team now. This is a put
yeah.
together team, number 1 seed versus number 8 seed. That's a big win on the road for the Miami Heat.
And I think it's so interesting because we've seen two different sides to both of these teams.
Yeah.
We saw a very polished Denver Nuggets in the first game, and then we saw a very lackluster Denver Nuggets in the second game. Not exactly sure why, like we're talking about, it's the playoffs, but at certain points in this game, right? Like I think the Nuggets had a very poor, third quarter, and thankfully Miami Heat didn't score that much, so it didn't. They only lost by 3 points, right? Like
Right.
it wasn't terrible, but in regards to be playing in a NBA Finals, you have to be 10 toes down. You have to bring that energy
Yeah.
every single time. And I think going back to Miami, I don't know if you saw the like arena in Miami. They were watching the game.
They're going
Oh,
crazy.
they was
But Lo,
lit.
you got to understand
It
though,
was
the
lit.
NBA is a game of runs though. So, even the way Miami started the
Yeah.
fourth quarter, came out, I believe it was 29-10. I mean, they came out heavy. Denver bounced right back. These guys
Yeah.
are able to put together runs. In the NBA, it's about what team can put together a string of stops, because, everyone can score. Jamal Murray, I mean, this guy's one of the best scorers to still, you got to think this cat just came off
I'm
2
gonna say that
serious
still
knee
blows my
injuries.
mind.
You
That
kidding me?
still blows my mind how great he is playing. Not how good, how great of a player he is showing up as every single night.
Unbelievable.
He
Unbelievable. I
played
mean,
39
he's
minutes last night, 4 rebounds, 10 assists, and 18 points.
yeah, he's a special guy, and when I watch his game, I just, he's got a feel that's really next to no one in the game right now. And I look across the league, and it's crazy because he's been out. You would think a guy would be rusty. But when you think about real scores, you got to put this guy in that category, or at least right outside of it, because, I know he's got a short resume right now. But every time I see this guy touch the floor, touch the ball, touch the court, his team instantly gets better. And he could put the ball in the basket from day one. He doesn't need to get warmed up. He doesn't need to get his legs. I don't know who his trainer is, but he's training for game shape, because this kid came out. He's doing it every night. So shout out to him. Shout out to everybody that got him back on the court. And we know as athletes how big it is, how much of a part of your career it is to be and come back from injury. It's a part of the game, and this guy's done it with the best of them, helping his team in the NBA Finals. Come on. It don't get no better than that, love.
Nah, gotta give him his flowers for that, honestly, because everyone's gonna have their own opinion when people come back from knee injury, specifically 2 back-to-back. It's always like, is he gonna come back full force? All those things.
Quick story, and we played against Adrian Peterson when this guy came back from he blew his knee a year before, and they're like, this was Adrian Peterson in his prime. So I'm like, he's probably a step slower. We played him the next year, 3 games in a row. This is my rookie year. Brother ran for 2,000 yards that year, coming off the knee, was doing one leg plant. I was like, how, Sway? He was one of those guys, and a lot like Jamal Murray, he just came back from the instant he stepped into that game. He was a difference maker, and I don't see him belaboring on that deal at all. He's getting after it.
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about it. Let's do our predictions. 1-1 right now. I'm
1-1.
gonna go and say that the Heat can get 2 wins back to back. I believe it. But I do think Denver's gonna come at them afterwards. So I'm gonna say Heat in 6.
Heat in 6. I got Denver winning game 3. I'm gonna give you that prediction first. I got Denver winning game 3, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Well, we'll have another episode by then, so it's all good. We appreciate y'all so much for tuning into another episode of Mojo Square Podcast. We appreciate the support, you guys watching, liking the videos. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about next. Obviously, NBA Finals is still happening. But yeah.
Let's go. We'll see y'all next week. Peace and love.